everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today's perfume review time. And for the perfume review time occasion, I shall be reviewing Dior Homme Parfum. Bear in mind, do not call it parfum because it ain't a parfum. It's a parfum. Or just say perfume. I prefer that if possible. Anyway, enough shade. Look, I have all of the first editions of the three main. I don't have the Cologne because I don't really care for that one. But okay, I have the very first Dior Homme Eau de Toilette with the silver tube inside from the second half of the 2000s or first half. Olivier Polge, I think, is the nose behind it. So love it. Reformulated version is shit compared to this. Seriously, this is so sophisticated and otherworldly. The reformulation is just a headache causer. The Intense, also first edition of the Intense, pre-reformulation. Vanilla, 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 vanilla. You know, the song Versace, Versace, Versace. Well, yeah, it could have been vanilla, 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 vanilla. Also love it, but nothing quite as special. I've already sprayed it here as the Parfum. Now this one was bought in 2016. It was produced in 2016 as well. So this bottle is from 2016. I sprayed it here to have a little bit of a dry down, and we're going to spray it fresh on this side as well. Okay. Whew. All right. So this one came out in 2014. François Demachy is the nose behind it. He is the parfumeur of the house of Christian Dior. Do we like what he does? Yeah, mostly we do, except when he kind of starts reformulating stuff that was formulated and created already and composed already for the house of Dior before his arrival. That's where I'm not so keen on François Demachy. But new stuff and new takes on a legacy is always interesting to me. I have the dry down here and I have the top notes there. So let's go through the notes. Top notes are listed as Tuscan Iris, Italian Orange, Rose, Tuscan Iris and Italian Orange are the top notes. The middle notes are not loading. Great. Leather and rose. The base notes are agarwood, oud, sandalwood, cedar, ambrette, musk, mallow. It's interesting to see the leather in the middle notes. In fact, this dry down section here has the leather in it. A lot of people don't like Christian Dior Pour Homme Parfum. They call it cheap. I think it's amazing. I think you need to be a very, very shrewd connoisseur of perfumes, as you would be a shrewd connoisseur of wine, like a wine taster, to understand the subtlety of the nuances of Dior Homme Parfum. And what do I mean by that? People mention the leather in it, out of it, not really there. Tobacco there, not there. All messing up, getting kind of weird when it's towards the dry down, blah, blah, blah. The opening note to me has definitely the Tuscan Iris. Italian Orange, less so. But the Tuscan Iris, let's just call it Iris in general, is so delicious. You want to eat it. It's as if it's an edible iris, and it's in a way reminiscent of the iris in the Dior Homme Eau de Toilette, the first edition, but more luxurious. It's more rich. It's a powder because we know that iris is powdery, but if in any way an iris, powdery iris, could also be balsamic and slightly liquidy, but like creamy liquid, that would be the Tuscan Iris in Dior Homme Parfum. almost like a caramel iris. It's delicious. You really want to eat it, but it's also, it cuts you a little bit, and that cut also kind of warns you, be careful, I am a luxurious product. Don't get too comfortable with me, because you have to kind of fight to have me. You know, you have to work to be able to afford me. Now, not necessarily money-wise, but olfactively speaking. In the dry down, now, if you want your leather, and here it mentions it in the middle notes, but agarwood, sandalwood, cedar, and ambret are in the base notes. If you want that leather with, particularly with the sandalwood, blending in together, there's a trick that I use to get the best out of the leather, out of this fragrance. And what is my secret? To tickle out the leather, you need to spray it very, very sparingly and very far away. So here I could literally see it like with all the lights I have around me. I could see the reflection. It's very oily on the skin. It's my skin, you've seen me spray it on. It still hasn't absorbed it really. And I didn't do puddle sprays. Here, however, let's do it again from a big distance. We're not talking this distance, we're talking something like that, or even more. And then just like go through it, that's it. That I've noticed in my personal experience, that is the best way to break down the facets of the fragrance and captivate the more subtle nuances of the more ethereal ingredients. Now, even though leather is not an ethereal ingredient, and that is an interesting paradox about Dior Homme Parfum. The paradox of having something as a concept of ethereal, but encapsulated within an ingredient so material and earthly as is leather. Leather almost is reminiscent, just in its word, in the name, the terminology of itself, of something kind of dirty and earthy. But to tickle out the smell of that leather out of this fragrance, you have to very sparingly, just one whiff, very far away from the skin. And you get that leather immediately. I have to give it some time, but it's there. I can sense it out way more than I do in this more close. And mind you, I didn't spray it too close here either. But the closer you spray it to your skin, and the more you're going to sense out the iris, and also for a longer time. The further away you spray it, and the more you're going to tickle out that leather, which is something I personally prefer. Why? Because I have my irises in the other two formulations, or the other two, formulations and concentrations, eau de toilette and intense. Intense being a sort of eau de parfum. Do I sense the rose in here? I do. Hypothetically speaking, I don't really ever smell out the rose like in its entirety, but I do sense how it could have been used to combine other ingredients together and lock them into place. Rose is something and again, another paradox, you see. Rose is something usually fragile in the concept of it, and something that maybe is very volatile and easily not sensed. Something that is usually fragile and that usually has to be kept into place. But I have the feeling in this fragrance, the rose has been used as a captivator rather than as a captee. So that's another paradox. And you have to understand that and have to appreciate that subtlety of composition in order to like this fragrance. And it's amazing how the two hands, like this far away whiff and this kind of close up, they smell very different. And that to me is like another indicator for good quality perfumes, when you have the feeling that there's some sort of essential oil in there, there might not be, but it definitely gives me that illusion. And seeing how it's still super shiny on the skin, I would say that there's definitely some oil in there that has to be used sparingly, and you have to know how to dose it in order to love it. And this one is really amazing if you know how to dose it. And you have to learn how to dose it. And I never really care about dosing perfumes. I'm always very particular about overdoing it with scents, putting on too much. But since I love that delicate, subtle leather in here, I have no choice but to spray it from a distance. If you overdo it from the vicinity and proximity of your skin, you're gonna suffocate that leather. You're gonna make it turn into you're going to drown it. The iris, the fluid iris, that kind of powdery iris that I told you is like almost liquidy. That liquid or oily is going to submerge and it's going to drown the leather, and then you won't be able to smell it out. It's as if once you spray this out of the bottle, the sprayer, the atomizer, just dissipates all the ingredients into the air. And the more distant you are from the skin, and the more the radius opens up, and the more they kind of split. And they reach your skin in different positions, and you can kind of smell so when you kind of like break the molecule, you can smell the space in between. And that's something that I like about this fragrance when it's sprayed from a distance. If, however, you spray too close, you don't get that ratio. So let's say the atomizer, the sprayer, breaks down the ingredients, but before they get a chance to really fly apart from each other, they already hit the skin. So they kind of stay locked into place relatively tight to one another instead of kind of opening up and splitting up from one another. And that is something that my nose detects. My nose detects it quite intensely on this hand as juxtaposed to this hand or arm or wrist. And I love both for different purposes. I would say the leathery version, more from a distance, is for the nighttime. And the more close-up version, where you have more of that iris, that oily iris, Tuscan iris, is for the daytime. Because it's more fresh, it's slightly soapy, but there's no real soap. Like, you smell that oil. You smell the iris, but you smell the powder, and you smell that oil that makes it very, very rich. And during the daytime, it makes you feel clean, but sophisticated. Nighttime, with the distance, it's more sensual and sexual. And that leather in there is definitely, together with the sandalwood, mostly the cedar, meh, it's way more sexual. This other one could be annoying. I could see how it could be annoying. Longevity and projection. This baby here, sprayed close, projection, kilometers and kilometers, miles and miles, light years and light years. This one stays closer to the skin. The further away you spray it, the closer it stays to the skin. Another paradox that we have in Dior Homme Parfum, as is a paradox in itself, the fact that it's called parfum, because we know that in perfumery for many, many, many decades already, the pure parfum was a concept only perceived for women and produced for women, not for men. In fact, 75 ml, this is 75 ml. A 75 ml bottle of a pure parfum of Chanel No. 5, for example, would set you back a couple $1,000s. However, if it's a parfum for men, it's way cheaper. As we know, this is all marketing strategies. The eau de toilettes cost less for men than they do for women. Eau de parfums cost less for men than they do for women. And now also the pure parfum costs less for men than it does for women, which brings me to the point of saying that actually these prices are kept artificially so high in many, many instances just because they target to a different type of audience and end consumer, which is expected and which has been taught and educated by luxury brands and marketing in general. We have been brainwashed to accept the fact that these products cost so much. And that is wrong. They shouldn't. And here's the proof. The proof is in the pudding. Because if concentrations have very strict regulations, when are you allowed to call a fragrance a parfum concentration rather than an eau de parfum or an eau de toilette or an eau de cologne concentration? If you have to follow the specific, you have parameters, you could kind of be out of them by a little, I guess, or maybe not even, and then you're not allowed to call your fragrance anymore the concentration of a parfum. So if we have to follow and abide by these regulations, and this indeed is a parfum by the criteria that are also used to create, let's say, opium parfum for women, or Chanel No. 5 parfum, then why would this one be so much cheaper than Chanel No. 5? It's all marketing. As simple as that. Unless they're not lying to us and this is not parfum, but indeed a sort of eau de parfum. But then again, the rules and regulations are very strict. They would not be allowed to call themselves or to call this product a parfum concentration if it were not abiding by those regulations. So back to the fragrance itself. Again, the paradox of calling it a parfum, which is something we're used to seeing only in female fragrances, and yet it's for the most male of the male. It's called Dior Homme, Dior Man, and the most male expression and concentration of it would be the parfum. So this is kind of supposed to be the most male of all the other versions, which you be the judge of that. Something that is a bit more warm might tendentially be seen as less male and a cooler scent, but I prefer the warmer scents, or scents. They can be cool, but they have to have a warmth within their heart and within their base notes. This one has it from opening to ending. And it's amazing, the difference of its smell depending on how far away or close you spray it. And I'll never stress enough to repeat it, guys, because it makes a world of a difference. As it dries down, now, you know, for those of you who do not like this fragrance, just think of it this way. Maybe you should give it another shot and try to understand that indeed, when we buy Dior Homme Parfum, we should not be expecting Dior Homme Eau de Toilette in a higher concentration, or Dior Homme Intense in an even higher concentration. We should be expecting an alternate or a totally new olfactive experience that is rooted within this blend of leather, rose, orange, iris, and dare I say hay as well. And it doesn't even mention vanilla in here, you know, which is the opposite of Dior Homme Intense, which has a lot of vanilla. And I could smell it just right out of the nozzle. You gotta expect something else. This one is more intense. Let me see the color. The color is the same. I wouldn't say that one has a more intense colorway than the other. They're both very ambery, very gold, very rich. This one, the Eau de Toilette, has a much lighter color. But it's divine on a totally different level. It's like a totally different experience to smell the Eau de Toilette, which is the original. The first one that came out was the Eau de Toilette, and then the Intense followed, and then the Cologne, and then all the sports editions. And then the ultimate and final one till now that came out was Dior Homme Parfum. I wonder if they could push it even more and create a Dior Homme Parfum Intense. That would be weird. But anyway, so we were talking projection, huge. Longevity, huge. It even stays on the clothes. Whatever you do with it, distant or near or far spray, it's going to stick to you, to the skin, to the clothes, even after hands. I mean, in this case here, it's still going to be there after I've washed my hands. It almost smells like a niche perfume that has been tweaked for the masses. Now, that's something that could be seen as very bad, but I see it as something positive in a way, because it gives you that sophistication of niche, but it doesn't make you have to hunt it down. You know, it's accessible, it's available, and the price ranges, I think, for pure parfum, again, if we follow the criteria of what pure parfums mean price-wise in general when they're distributed for women, this has a great price of around $90 to 100, what is it, $90 to $120, I think, or euro, pounds. Well, all of them are more or less in the same range. But then if you're, clever, you're going to get it at some sort of discounter. You either go, if you travel, duty-free shops, or, there are ways of kind of getting a 10 to 15 to 20% discount in some instances, or in some months of the year. what I love about this fragrance is that I do not, well, what I love about it, no, let's not say that. How I perceive this fragrance, I do not like the concept of it, or I would not like to envision it, but unfortunately sometimes I do, also because of sometimes the type of marketing Dior does for it. I don't like seeing a guy in a tie and a jacket or a very classic suit running through the streets of Paris when it's humid wearing this thing, this perfume. That's douchebaggy to me. I'm not liking that vision. What I envision as really sexy for this fragrance, if a guy is just wearing a shirt, you know, unbuttoned, or even just a t-shirt, just very, very leisurely, easygoing, something like this. But even this is, I think this is also overdressed in a way because it's black. I wanted to wear this because I wanted it to be this kind of intensification of a look of an image. I mean, even though this is not Dior Homme, this is Versace for H&M. But it has a touch of gold, like ambery there, see, and the black. So I wanted that kind of juxtaposition, or, well, to my skin tone. But not just that, but I wanted it to kind of match this in a way. But I could have also just as well worn a white t-shirt. What I couldn't have worn is like a tie, jacket, suit type of thing, classic leather shoes. No, I see this breaking that cliche, and kind of, you should wear it differently. You should wear it a bit more leisure, even more loungy, even with sneakers. But always spray it from a distance if you want to wear it with sneakers, because you want that leather to kind of contrast your sporty, I don't care type of look. And then it's magic. But only then. And I would repurchase it as long as they don't reformulate it, and I would enjoy it all over again from a new bottle, again, if they do not reformulate it. And I definitely suggest you guys to try it given these tips that I have mentioned in the video, because that really helps a lot to unlock the mysteries and secrets hidden inside Dior Homme Parfum. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like this review. If you have, please do thumb it up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. No matter what they tell you, you should be smelling. Follow your instincts, your nose, and smell what you love, because we never give up on smelly love. Love you. See you soon, guys. Take care. Bye.